Verses 1 to 7. Here, God puts Joshua in mind of his old age, v1. 1. It is said that Joshua was old and stricken in years, and he and Caleb were at this time the only old men among the thousands of Israel, none except them of all those who were numbered at Mount Sinai being now alive. He had been a man of war from his youth, Ex 17:10, but now he yielded to the infirmities of age, with which it is in vain for the stoutest to think of contesting. It should seem Joshua had not the same strength and vigor in his old age that Moses had. All that come to old age do not find it alike good. Generally, the days of old age are evil days, and such as there is no pleasure in, nor expectation of service from. 2. God takes notice of it to him. God said to him, "Thou art old." Note, it is good for those who are old and stricken in years to be put in remembrance of their being so. Some have gray hairs here and there upon them, and perceive it not. Hos 7:9. They do not care to think of it, and therefore need to be told of it, that they may be quickened to do the work of life, and make preparation for death, which is coming towards them apace. But God mentions Joshua's age and growing infirmities as a reason why he should now lay by the thoughts of pursuing the war. He cannot expect to see an end of it quickly, for there remained much land, more perhaps than he thought, to be possessed, in several parts remote from each other, and it was not fit that at his age he should be put upon the fatigue of renewing the war, and carrying it to such distant places. No, it was enough for him that he had reduced the body of the country. Let him be gathered to rest with honor and the thanks of his people for the good services he had done them, and let the conquering of the skirts of the country be left for those that shall come after. As he had entered into the labors of Moses, so let others enter into his, and bring forth the top stone, the doing of which was reserved for David long after. Observe, God considers the frame of his people, and would not have them burdened with work above their strength. It cannot be expected that old people should do as they have done for God and their country. As a reason why he should speedily apply himself to the dividing of that which he had conquered. That work must be done, and done quickly. It was necessary that he should preside in the doing of it, and therefore, he being old and stricken in years, and not likely to continue long, let him make this his concluding piece of service to God and Israel. All people, but especially old people, should set themselves to do that quickly which must be done before they die, lest death prevent them. He gives him a particular account of the land that yet remained unconquered, which was intended for Israel, and which, in due time, they should be masters of if they did not put a bar in their own door. Divers places are here mentioned, some in the south, as the country of the Philistines, governed by 5 lords, and the land that lay towards Egypt, v2, 3 some westward, as that which lay towards the Sidonians, v4, some eastward, as all Lebanon, v5, some towards the north, as that in the entering in of Hamath, v5. Joshua is told this, and he made the people acquainted with it, that they might be the more affected with God's goodness to them in giving them this good land, and might thereby be engaged to love and serve him, for, if this which they had was too little, God would moreover give them such and such things, that they might not be tempted to make any league, or contract any dangerous familiarity with these their neighbors so as to learn their way, but might rather be jealous of them, as a people that kept them from their right and that they had just cause of quarrel with, that they might keep themselves in a posture for war, and not think of putting off the harness so long as there remained any land to be possessed. Nor must we lay aside our spiritual armor, nor be off our watch, till our victory be completed in the kingdom of glory. He promises that he would make the Israelites masters of all those countries that were yet unsubdued, though Joshua was old and not able to do it, old and not likely to live to see it done. Whatever becomes of us, and however we may be laid aside as despised broken vessels, God will do his own work in his own time, v6 I will drive them out. The original is emphatic, it is I that will do it, I that can do it when thou art dead and gone, and will do it if Israel be not wanting to themselves. I will do it by my word, so the Chaldee here, as in many other places, by the eternal word, the captain of the hosts of the Lord. This promise that he would drive them out from before the children of Israel plainly supposes it as the condition of the promise that the children of Israel must themselves attempt their extirpation, must go up against them, else they could not be said to be driven out before them. If afterwards Israel, through sloth, or cowardice, or affection to these idolaters, sit still and let them alone, they must blame themselves, and not God, if they be not driven out. We must work out our salvation, and then God will work in us and work with us. We must resist our spiritual enemies, and then God will tread them under our feet. We must go forth to our Christian work and warfare, and then God will go forth before us. Here we have orders given to Joshua to assign to each tribe its portion of this land, including that which was yet unsubdued, which must be brought into the lot, in a believing confidence that it should be conquered when Israel was multiplied so as to have occasion for it. v7 Now divide this land. Joshua thought all must be conquered before any must be divided. No, said God, there is as much conquered as will serve your turn for the present. Divide this, and make your best of it, and wait for the remainder hereafter. Note, we must take the comfort of what we have, though we cannot compass all we would have. Observe. The land must be divided among the several tribes, and they must not always live in common, as now they did. Which way soever a just property is acquired, it is the will of that God who has given the earth to the children of men that there should be such a thing, and that every man should know his own, and not invade that which is another's. The world must be governed, not by force, but right, by the law of equity, not of arms. That it must be divided for an inheritance, though they got it by conquest. The promise of it came to them as an inheritance from their fathers. The land of promise pertained to the children of promise, who were thus beloved for their fathers' sakes, and in performance of the covenant with them. The possession of it was to be transmitted by them, as an inheritance to their children. Frequently, what is got by force is soon lost again, but Israel, having an incontestable title to this land by the divine grant, might see it hereby secured as an inheritance to their seed after them, and that God kept this mercy for thousands. That Joshua must not divide it by his own will. Though he was a very wise, just, and good man, it must not be left to him to give what he pleased to each tribe, but he must do it by lot, which referred the matter wholly to God, and to his determination, for he it is that appoints the bounds of our habitation, and every man's judgment must proceed from him. But Joshua must preside in this affair, must manage this solemn appeal to providence, and see that the lot was drawn fairly and without fraud, and that every tribe did acquiesce in it. The lot indeed causeth contention to cease. But, if upon this lot any controversy should arise, Joshua by his wisdom and authority must determine it, and prevent any ill consequences of it. Joshua must have the honor of dividing the land, because he had undergone the fatigue of conquering it, and when, through his hand, each tribe received its allotment, they would thereby be made the more sensible of their obligations to him. And what a pleasure must it needs be to a man of such a public spirit as Joshua was to see the people that were so dear to him eating of the labor of his hands. That he might be herein a type of Christ, who has not only conquered for us the gates of hell, but has opened to us the gates of heaven, and, having purchased the eternal inheritance for all believers, will in due time put them all in possession of it. An account is here given of the distribution of the land on the other side Jordan among the Reubenites and Gadites and half the tribe of Manasseh. Observe how this account is introduced. It comes in as the reason why this land within Jordan must be divided only to the 9 tribes and a half, because the other 2 and a half were already provided for. As a pattern to Joshua in the work he had now to do. He had seen Moses distribute that land, which would give him some aid in distributing this, and thence he might take his measure, only this was to be done by lot, but it should seem Moses did that himself, according to the wisdom given unto him. As an inducement to Joshua to hasten the dividing of this land, that the 9 tribes and a half might not be kept any longer than was necessary out of their possession, since their brethren of the 2 tribes and a half were so well settled in theirs, and God their common Father would not have such a difference made between his children,